Curse MMA here, and UFC 326 has just come to an end last night, and these are the fights we need to see next. Fights that I put together. I thought of the matchups. I thought of, where each person of these are in their career and how they match up, how the UFC might think about it, and I put these fights together, but let's just get straight into this. Starting with Gregory Rodriguez versus RDR. Now, this is a fucking banger, obviously. Well, I guess it has the potential to be kind of boring if RDR kind of smudges him against the fence, which I don't think is an impossibility, but I think there's a really good chance of a finish and probably an early finish from either RDR taking him down or just subbing him early or, RoboCop just chinning him badly. Now, don't get me wrong, RoboCop is pretty good on the ground, but I think RDR is kind of a different level there compared to him, and on the feet, though, is where I really see this fight being dictated because it's going to be a guy with pretty bad striking defense and a slow fighter in fucking RDR versus, one of the most dangerous strikers in the division. Yeah, this is just a really good fight. RDR obviously needs to fight down. He's fought against somewhat top competition in his last two fights and lost pretty handedly in both of them, if you ask me. And, now he gets to fight down number 13, and it's against a really dangerous guy, though. So it'll be a really good bounce-back win if he can get it. And for RoboCop, he deserves a fight up, man. He lost to Jared Cannonier when he got that fight up, but now he's kind of proved that was like I can recover from that. I can bounce back and get a good win here. So I think RoboCop versus RDR, this is just a banger. I think it makes a lot of sense. It can be like an opening fight on a fucking on a PPV or, fucking numbered event, whatever. Yeah, I think this is a really good fight. Put this together. Next fight we have is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Davison Figueiredo. Now, this is a fight I've thought about, a decent amount since it ended, and I think this is a really good fight because obviously Figueiredo's coming off a pretty ugly loss to a really good fighter, though, to be fair, but I think he obviously needs to fight down a bit. And then Raul Rosas Jr., he wants a top 10 guy. I think he earned it because, 30-27 against Rob Font, who was number 13. I think it just makes sense, even if it was boring. He's going to get a top 10 guy. This is the guy that UFC has been trying to build up and has been, actively building up. So I feel like giving him an ex-champion who's number 7 in the world, who's kind of at the tail end of his career, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And then for the UFC, also, I think about it as it makes a lot of sense no matter who wins or loses. Because, so best case is obviously for the UFC, I'm saying best case is if Raul Rosas Jr. wins, it's like, oh my God, this dude is legit. He just beat an ex-champion. He, if he beats him easily, it's like they can really prop him up. They can put him up to 6 in the world, maybe push a number 1 contenders fight type shit. And keep in mind, it's from the UFC. It's not exactly what I would want to happen or think should happen, but I'm thinking about it from their point of view. And then even if Figgy does win, he chins him, whatever, he submits him. I think that it can make sense, too, because it's going to build him up. He's probably going to go up to 5th or 4th, or probably 5th. It makes sense to go up like one spot, or not move, I guess. But he'll probably go up a little bit. And then the UFC could put Davison Figueiredo against another younger contender, or not younger, but another up-and-comer. And then you can be like, oh, well, this guy still got it. And then, you have another prospect versus him to try do pretty much just using Davison Figueiredo to build these guys up, which is what I kind of expect them to do at this point of Davison Figueiredo's career. That's what they usually do with these ex-champions on the way out. They always kind of put them against these young up-and-comers so they can be like, okay, we want to build this guy up. And I just feel like, both those paths would make sense for the UFC. Best case, you build up Raul Rosas Jr. He's number 7 now. And then worst case, you get to try to do that again with another younger guy. And I feel like this fight just makes a lot of sense when you break it down to that. And it could be a really fun fight, too. Davison Figueiredo won't let you have a boring fight, even if you're taking him down, smudging him. He's usually doing shit off his back. He has pretty good get-ups. And then, obviously, the striking, like, Davison Figueiredo could chin this dude. This fight just makes a lot of sense. I think it would be, like, a really fun fight overall. To our co-main event already, because, this card's kind of buns, but let's just get into this. I have Kyle Brahalio versus Sean Strickland. I think this is I'm not going to say a banger. I was going to say a banger. This is probably, it could be, you never know, but, both these guys can kind of be boring at times, can have boring fights, but, they have those bangers every couple fights, so you never know, maybe the stars were aligned and they're both, just scrap for this fight, I don't know, but I feel like this fight makes sense. I know Kyle Brahalio called out DDP, but I feel like Brandon Allen kind of earned that DDP fight. He beat RDR when RDR was on a win streak. He beat him in more dominant fashion in a 5-rounder. Yeah, so I think he kind of deserves that DDP fight. But I am going to say I think this one will be the title eliminator. I think that for the next title shot, obviously I think Imavov's first, and then you do the winner of this one, and then you can do the winner of Brandon Allen or DDP, or you can flip or flop these. I just think this all builds up for title shots. I think this makes a lot of sense. Sean Strickland obviously needs another fight. You don't get a fucking title fight for one win. That'd be fucking utterly retarded. And I kind of like this for Sean Strickland because it's like this like, is he really just the guy who beats every prospect? Amavov, Fluffy, Kaio, and fucking who am I for? Oh, Brandon Allen. Like, he just beats all these young guys who are coming up in this division. He proves that he's like, this dude's like one of the best middleweights of all time. And, you know, for Kaio, this can be a huge win. Ex-champion, guy who beats all the prospects, and you're the one who takes him down. You're the one who beats him. The dude who's only really lost, like, top guys who, I mean, he lost Jared Cannonier, but in my opinion, that was a robbery. He fucking, you know, he's only really lost to DDP, who was champion with fucking 3 defense? Yeah. So it's like, this could be, it just makes a lot of sense to me from both sides. Sean needs another win. Obviously, Kyle wants a title shot. He wants to get a win that puts him there, and this puts you there, beating a guy like Sean Strickland. And then, you know, Sean Strickland, if he wins, he's arguably like, okay, I want the next shot now because you beat two of the best young prospects in the division. Like, what more can you really do? Yeah, this fight makes perfect sense to me, and I think it would be just, you know, a fun fight maybe, and it just makes perfect sense, man. On to our main event. I think these two I put together. It took me a bit, but I thought about these and what the UFC would probably do, and these just make sense. I think Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett does make a lot of sense to me, and before anyone clicks off and, you know, whatever, thinks it's stupid, I think this makes sense because, like, both are coming off a loss. Both are coming off pretty bad losses. I mean, obviously Paddy's was a bit more competitive, but you know, I think both these guys are coming off losses. It's Paddy Pimblett. The UFC is not going to make this dude fight fucking Ziam or some shit. He's not going to fight Manuel Torres. Like, he's going to fight another top guy, but they're going to make it make a little more sense. It's probably going to be someone like Max Holloway, a big name who's coming off a loss, who also they just watch get smudged, and maybe they're like, okay, wait, maybe Paddy Pimblett could do this too. So they're going to put this together. I think Max Holloway beats the fucking bricks off of Paddy Pimblett, but you never know. Maybe Paddy will improve his fucking striking for once, but we'll see. I think this fight makes a lot of sense for both people because it's also Max Holloway. He's getting kind of, I don't want to say a layup because I hate counting out Paddy this much because he already gets too much hate, man. But, dude, I don't know. It's Max Holloway. It's a easier fight for him for sure than Charles Oliveira. It is a way worse wrestler. The jiu-jitsu, you know, obviously Charles is better at jiu-jitsu, but Paddy's a pretty good jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Both guys coming off losses, and this is a huge fight. This will definitely be like a co-main event on a numbered card. So I think this fight just makes, both guys would accept. This fight just makes sense to me. I think you want to put this together. You want to try to get Paddy back into the conversation right away. And worst case, you're like, oh no, our fucking great boxer who always puts on good fights usually, it gets propped back up. Like, you know, you're not mad at either outcome really. You'll be a little sad if Paddy loses again, I guess. But then he can fight down. He can fight a guy who's way more winnable than Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. So this fight just makes a lot of sense. I think putting this together would make sense for both guys as well. It's just, and I think it'd be a really, really good fight, too. I think even if it's Max Holloway dominating, it'd still be fun. And I don't think there's a universe where Paddy controls him as well as Charles did. I mean, maybe he controls him somewhat, but I think Paddy's also going to be a little more aggressive on the ground. He typically is. So, yeah, I think this fight just makes a lot of sense and is overall a really good fight. Now, lastly, Charles Oliveira versus fucking Benoit Saint Denis. BSD versus Charles Oliveira. This would be a fucking banger scrap. Obviously, BSD is not going to get ragdolled kind of like Charles did. I feel like it could be a little bit of a ragdolling, but definitely not that bad. This is a banger. This makes sense for the BMF because Charles has the BMF. It wasn't the best performance, but, you know, he can have dude, it's like once in every, like, 5 fights at most where Charles has a somewhat boring fight. And against another grappler who won't really let you control him, it's not going to be boring. BSD's kind of, a lot of people are saying he deserves a BMF title fight, and I feel like he's earned it. He puts on bangers. This dude is throwing people down, submitting them, striking with them. It's just dude, this fight makes so much sense. Two high-pressure grapplers who will exchange. This would be such a fucking banger. And it makes sense, like, you know, for where they're at. Charles, he's going to need another win against a kind of a top guy, an up-and-comer, to kind of get back into a title shot. And BSD, he wants to beat a huge name guy now because he beat Ruffy, he beat Dan Hooker, but he needs to beat, you know, this top 3 ex-champion type level guy now to get a title shot. And this fight just, oh my god, dude, this fight is so fire. And I know people want to see Charles Arman too. I also do, but I want to see Arman fight for the title next. I think after Gaethje and Ilya, he just give him the title shot, and then this can be for the title shot after that. And I feel like that makes sense. I want to see Arman Ilya. And dude, worst case, Arman wins, and then Charles wins. We see fucking Arman Charles 2 for the belt in a 5-rounder. Tell me that's not a banger, dude. Like, this fight makes so much sense. I think Charles destroys BSD, but the thing about BSD is this dude has so much finishing potential. Charles has been finished in, kind of every way, so I'm not saying it's impossible for him to win. I do think Charles is kind of better everywhere almost, maybe except, like, the chain wrestling. That's the only place where maybe BSD is better, but pure wrestling, Charles is better. Jiu-jitsu, Charles is better. Boxing, Charles is better. Yeah. So I think Charles wins this. I think Charles earns a title shot with this. And it'll just be, oh my God, dude. Just imagine this fight. These two guys will just be walking forward, fighting for who walks forward, fucking exchanging, shooting takedowns on each other. Charles and guard, fucking BSD trying to fucking, do shit on top, while Charles is throwing up his triangles and all this fucking guillotines and shit. Oh, dude, I can just picture how... And for the BMF belt, it makes so much sense. I don't care if this headline's a fucking numbered event, as long as it's not dog shit like this one, like, overall. But, dude, this would be such a good fucking fight. I've been thinking about it. It would be a banger. This fight makes sense for where both these guys are at. And I think the UFC would be like, let's put this together. Let's show them that grapplers can be BMFs. Dude, just, oh my God, please put this fight together. But let me know how you guys thought about, these fights I put together, if they make sense to you or if you think they're stupid. Anyways, it's Carson May. Peace.